Now he does that and he gives this orchard to this man for the price of this palm tree. And he was killed on the day of Uhud. Our Prophet ﷺ walked past his body and says, how many a palm tree does Abu Dahda have in Jannah today? You see, it's opportunities, isn't it? He grabbed it, the other one lost it. The Ansar, once they came for some farming need, for the dunya. And the Prophet, he saw them coming, he says, Marhaban bil Ansar, Marhaban bil Ansar, welcome O Ansar, welcome O Ansar. He says to them, there is nothing that you will ask me for today except I will give it to you. And nothing I will ask Allah today for your sake except Allah will give it to me. And they came for farming, dunya. And they could have asked Allah for the dunya and much of it because they would have got it. But they thought and says, well, okay then, on this day, O Prophet of Allah, we ask Allah for maghfirah, for forgiveness. That was a chance. And look at the repercussions. Our Prophet says, Allahumma ghfir lil ansar, O Allah, forgive the Ansar. Wali abna'i al-ansar, and the children of the Ansar. Wali abna'i al-ansar, and the grandchildren of the Ansar. Wali azwaj al-ansar, and the wives of the Ansar. Wali jiran ansar, and the neighbors of the Ansar. Everyone who was connected to Ansar that day was blessed because of one opportunity and they grabbed it. There was Sahaba called Sawad bin Ghaziyah on the day of Badr, in fact. Our Prophet ﷺ, he had an arrow, he would adjust the positions using the arrow. Sawad was out of line. The Prophet ﷺ poked him and said, Sawad, get back in line. Get back in line. Sawad says, O Prophet of Allah, I think you've hurt me. Allow me to retaliate, O Prophet of Allah. Allow me. The Prophet showed him his chest or his stomach. He says, okay, you can retaliate. Sawad comes and he hugs the Prophet and kisses his stomach. The Prophet said, why did you do that? He says, Wallahi, because I want the last skin that my lips touch before I'm killed in the way of Allah to be your blessed skin, O Prophet of Allah. That's Iman. And that's hub, that's love. And that's really defined the Sahaba. Their love for the Prophet of Allah, their commitment to La ilaha illallah, their avoiding of shirk and kufr. Look at the case of Abdullah ibn Hudhafa as-Sahmi. May Allah be pleased with him, who was dispatched by Sayyidina Umar to go and, I think, to the Romans. And when he was there, he was captured by the king, and his companions were captured by the king. And the king says, if you want me to release you, you must become a Christian. He says, La wallahi, I will not become a Christian. He says, become a Christian, I will marry you to my daughter. He says, no, I won't become a Christian. He says, become a Christian, I will build for you a palace. He says, no. He says, هَلَّ كَنْ أُشْرِكَكْ فِي مُلْكِ وَسُلْطَانِ, I will make you a partner in my entire kingdom if you became a Christian. He says, لَوْ أَعْطَيْتَنِ مَا تَمْلُكْ وَجَمِيعَ مَنْ مَلَكَتْهُ الْعَرَبِ. He says, you give me whatever belongs to you and everything that belongs to the Arabs. عَلَنْ أَرْجِعَ عَنْ دِينِ مُحَمَّدٍ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ طَرْفَةَ عَيْنٍ مَا فَعَلْتُ. That I was to move away from the religion of Prophet ﷺ by the blink of an eye, I will not do that. He says, become a Christian or I will burn your followers. He says, I won't become a Christian. He brings a cauldron or boiling water and begins to throw the Sahaba in this hot water or fire and says, become a Christian. He says, I won't. Then he says, okay, well then your time's up. And you will also be thrown in. And the soldiers, they come and they begin to drag Abdullah to his death, and he begins to cry along the way. The king hears him and says, typical Muslim. You guys talk the talk, you can't walk the walk. Isn't it? You can say, I will never die, I won't. Then your time comes and you're crying. And this is as I expected you Muslims to be. And he brings Abdullah back. And he says, see how typical you are, Muslims so scared of death. He says to him, Wallahi abkani anni qultu fi nafsi tulqa as-sa'a fi hadha al-qadr fatadhhab. Wa kuntu ashtahi an yakuna bi'adad kullu shar fi jasadi nafsan tulqa fillah. He says, I'm crying because I know now that I'm going to give one life in the cause of Allah. And I wish for every hair on my body that I be given a life like this life in the way of Allah. And that makes me cry. Because I know I've only got one, and I wish I had thousands to give in the way of Allah. That is amazing. Imam Muslim relates, he says, no one remained with our Prophet. In some of those times he was fighting,